I wish that I knew what I knew now when I was younger. Okay, please don't click away. I know that's a terrible version of a song by Rod Stewart and the Faces, and I promise I won't try to sing again. But what I am going to do is share with you 12 things that I know now that I wish I knew when I was younger, in hopes that it's going to help you avoid these challenges so that you could learn and grow and be successful. More successful than you even are now. Welcome to the Learn It All podcast. I'm your host, Damon Lembi, two-time best-selling author and CEO of Learnit, a live learning platform that has helped upskill over 2 million people over the past 3 decades. All right, let's get started. I'm going to share with you 12 things that I want to help you avoid. Number one, and this I think is probably the most important, and it's time. Time is the only asset we have that we can't get back. Think about it. When it comes to friends, we could find ways to find and get more friends. Even money. We lose money. There's always ways to go out, work hard, and figure out how to make more money. And it even comes down to your physical health. In most cases, you can reclaim your physical health just by changing and doing things differently. But when it comes down to time, once it's gone, it's gone. And it's heartbreaking to hear people say, I wish I could have gone back in time and done things differently. I know because I've said that myself many, many times. Let's walk through a couple of the areas to make sure that you can really protect and use your time as effective as possible. A big lesson for me is around friends. Be intentional about who you spend your time with. Are they adding value or are they wasting time? Throughout the years, I've always thought it was great to have a ton of different friends. And most of them are awesome. Some of them weren't great and they didn't add any value. And if I had to go back in time, I would have eliminated them from my life much earlier. Sometimes it's not easy, but just eliminate those people from your lives. Also, when it comes to time, are you overworking? Are you spending too much time in the office? Are you working 60, 80 hours a week? Are you trying to do everything yourself and not learning how to delegate? When I was growing up, I followed after my grandfather, and Frank Lembi was legendary for putting in 60, 80 hours a week. And I wanted to be like him. One of the things I didn't realize at the time is that doing everything yourself doesn't necessarily make it the best way to get things done. I've learned that it's really important to tap into the people around you, especially if they have more strengths in certain areas than you do. Because a lot of times I'd end up being the bottleneck. And by delegating to them, they would learn more, they would trust me, and I would be able to spend my time in other areas and I wouldn't be the bottleneck. From an organizational perspective, if you're a leader, learn how to delegate because you don't want to spend 80 hours a week when you can cut that back to like 40 and 50, especially if you have a great team. Here's another one that's very important. If you're in a job that you don't love, then you need to do something about it. I can't tell you how many times I've had people tell me that they wake up in the morning and they're miserable going to work. As important it is to have a paycheck, I totally get it. And I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that you should just quit without a backup, but be looking for something else. You don't want to look back 5 years and say, I wasted all my time in this organization and I passed up these other opportunities. And the last thing I talk about this topic when it comes to time is be present. I'm a father. I got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. So this is relatively new to me when it comes to being present when it comes to kids. Somebody told me this the other day, and it's so true. The days are long, but the years are short. So be present. Number 2, learning how to manage your money is absolutely critical. I've made so many mistakes over the years. I wish they would have taught this in high school or in college. If I would have just learned financial literacy early on, I would have saved tens of thousands of dollars. But I started late on figuring this out and I'm getting much better at it and can't look back on the wasted money. You just got to learn from it. I've made so many mistakes over the years, buying things that I couldn't afford, picking up checks for lunches and dinners, wasting money on people who weren't even my good friends. And I always kind of think to myself, you know what? I could figure this out later. Why start now? Well, let me tell you, start now because the later catches up on you and you don't want to put yourself in a deficit. I'm going to share with you 5 tips. Now, look, I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a CPA. I'm just going to tell you some of the things that I've done that have been super helpful. Number 1, live within your means. Don't overspend. If there's something you can't afford, don't just throw it on the credit card because you're going to have to pay that sometime. Number 2 is start saving. Build an emergency fund. If I'm making good money, what if, for instance, I lost my job and I couldn't afford to pay the mortgage anymore? You got to be very mindful of that. So out of every paycheck or whatever it is you're doing, set aside a little bit. So at worst case scenario, you have 3 to 6 months worth of backup for an emergency. Number three is start investing your 401k match, whatever it is. Start learning how to either play the stock market or get involved in real estate. Because one thing I've learned is that just making a salary isn't going to get you the financial wealth you need long term. Number four, this has been a very hard one for me, but know where every dollar goes on your credit cards or whatnot. Keep tally of it. And I think even with AI these days, you can throw your monthly statements into AI and you can build it out so you can track where you're spending. Because once you know where you're spending, it gives you more insights and helps you realize, do I really need this extra subscription? Do I really need to go out 5 days a week for dinner? Whatever it is, be disciplined and learn how to track your money. And number five is eliminate high interest debt, especially when it comes to credit cards. Do your very best to pay your credit cards off as soon as possible. You want to be stuck with big credit card debt where you're paying 20% plus interest. So when it comes to managing your money, start now. It's never too soon to do so. Number three, don't make emotional decisions. Reacting emotionally can cost you. Please think before you act. I would say I'm pretty famous for buyer's remorse. What I mean by buyer's remorse is you make a decision, you buy something, and then a day later, a week later, a month later, you're like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? And a lot of the times when I reflect back, it was because I had this emotional energy, good or bad, and I just didn't really think through the whole situations. When it comes to decision making, especially if it's a very important decision, stop, reflect, walk around the block, talk to somebody, because most major decisions don't need to happen automatically. So take your time and think about it. One thing I recommend you do is what I call purposeful awfulizing. If you have a big decision in front of you, whether it's buying a house, getting in a relationship, or hiring a COO, think about what is the worst case scenario. Think about 1 year out. If things go completely bonkers, can I overcome this? Is it worth making this decision and moving forward? Because if it's not, or maybe you're unsure, then it's time to step back and reflect. Are you thinking with a clear head, or are you all pumped up and ready to make a decision that you may have buyer's remorse or regret? Number four is get comfortable with failure. I'd like to say that I knew this all along. I failed so much in baseball, but even then, I was kind of worried about what people would think. So I let failure bother me. And what I didn't realize at the time is that you're always going to fail and things are going to happen. And growth only really happens outside of your comfort zone. And to me, one of the biggest failures out there is just not trying at all or giving up too early. Learn to get comfortable with failure. Some of the best leaders that I've interviewed on my show and I've got to know over the years aren't afraid to stick their neck out there and try and just do the best they can. Every situation is a learning opportunity. Number five is don't stay stuck. Whether it's in a job, a relationship, or a habit. We talked about it a little bit earlier about staying in a job too long and feeling like that you can't get that time back. Well, it's called the sunken cost fallacy, and it's very, very important. I actually had a full episode on it. You should check that out. Don't feel like just because you've put time into something, whether it's a relationship and you think maybe it's going to get better, even though you know it's miserable, or you're working at a job where you know you're not enjoying yourself and you have more to offer elsewhere. You just have to get out there and make that change, because otherwise you're going to look back again and you're going to say, why did I stick with this for so long? I was like that with relationships. I was like that with some of the employees we kept around at Learnit that I knew maybe weren't the best fit. And the very first step is just realizing that, hey, this is a bad relationship, or I really need to change the way I'm going about life. Go for it and make that change. Don't stay stuck. Number six, life doesn't always go as planned. Life isn't linear, not in your personal life, not in your professional life. When I was growing up, I was sure I was going to be a Major League Baseball player, have 4 kids, live in Hillsboro, to have my dad around my whole life, to have him see our grandchildren grow up and be proud of me sitting in the stands watching me play in the big leagues. Here I am. My baseball career ended at 22 years old. I never made it to the big leagues. My dad passed away of cancer at 6 years old. And I don't have 4 kids. I have 2 kids. I have 2 amazing kids. And I've had an amazing career at Learnit. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I'd be in the learning and development world. Sometimes things happen and you can't control those detours. And sometimes you have constraints that you have to live within. When life zigs, you got to learn to zag. Adaptability is everything, especially in this fast-paced world. If you want to be a founder or you're going to be a parent, Life's not going to be linear. So you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to grow, and you're going to have to dust yourself off when things just don't go as planned. The next time you run into a speed bump in the road, don't play a victim, own up to it, make the best out of it, enjoy your life, and keep going. Number 7 is take action. Confidence comes from reps, not from perfection. You know what confidence doesn't come from? Sitting back and waiting for things to happen or hoping for things to happen. I found that causes anxiety. If you want to be great at something, you got to get out there and do it. Here's an example. When my book first came out, I got on a podcast tour. I was scared to death to get out there and do podcasts as a guest because I've never done it before. I've done interviews on baseball, but I was thinking to myself, would anybody even want to listen to me? I jumped on my first podcast with my now friend, Andy Storch of Talent Development Hot Seat, and I was absolutely awful, embarrassing. I thought it looked like I was going to throw up. But at the end of it, I asked Andy for some advice, and I told myself, I want to get good at this. And the only way I'm going to get good at this is to get back in the game. I couldn't wait to get on and do another podcast. And since then, I've probably been on 150 podcasts. And here I am doing solos. I'm probably not fantastic at it. Fast forward a year from now, I'm telling you, I'll be much better. I want you to keep in mind, you don't get good at something by waiting around. You get good at something by starting. Confidence comes from reps. Learn to take action. May not go as planned. It may be fantastic, but you're going to learn something every time. And I think you should be proud of yourself for sticking your neck out there and taking action. Number 8, learn to say no. I've always wanted to be a people pleaser. I wanted to make people happy. But saying yes to everything, not only does it turn to burnout, but you're also saying yes to things, and you'll probably end up turning down things that you should have said yes to because you just didn't have the time. It's okay to say no. People have other options, and you're doing them a disservice by saying yes and not following through on your work. And I see this all the time in the customers we work with at Learnit, people that I mentor, and it's high-performing individuals who get more work thrown on them over and over. I call it the VIP curse. Somebody who's an awesome producer. So what does the boss do? What does the leader do? They have a couple of people on the team, let's say project managers. One project manager never hits any of their goals. One crushes it. So you just throw more projects on that person. And if this person doesn't set boundaries and say no, they're going to get burnout, and they may even leave or stop being successful. So if you're that person who gets all these projects thrown on you because you're super successful, you have to learn to say no. You need to sit down with your boss and say, hey, look what I got on my plate. Can we reprioritize this? And if they are even a decent boss, they're going to say, great point. Let's work this out, because they don't want to lose you either. Learn to say no. You'll feel much better about yourself. Number 9, don't avoid tough conversations. So this goes for professionally, this goes for personally. I learned this one from Gary Ridge. He's got a great new book out called Any Dumbass Can Do It. And we talked about it on my podcast. And he said that poor leaders like to protect their comfort zone, avoiding tough conversations, avoiding tough situations because it's better for them. Well, you know what happens when you're avoiding tough conversations in the workforce, especially when it comes to your employees or even your customers? For your employees, you're doing them a disservice. I'll give you an example of something I'm proud of. About a year ago, we had a sales rep who was underperforming, and there were certain things that they were doing and not doing that needed to be addressed. So at first I thought to myself, well, this person, they'll figure it out. They can work it out. I think they got the potential. I don't like having difficult conversations. It's that awkward moment. And then I finally said to myself, you know what? I have to have this conversation. I sat down with the individual. They took it very well. They thanked me, and they immediately turned it around. If I would have protected my comfort zone and not reached out to that person, they may not even be here now. And now they're crushing it. I want you to reflect back on that, leaders, that you are doing your team members a disservice if you're avoiding those tough conversations. They deserve to be able to learn and grow. A lot of times that can't happen if they're not getting feedback from those tough moments. Number 10 has been a big one for me. I talk a lot about it in my book. It's your identity isn't tied to what you do, but it should be about who you are. 22 years old, my baseball career came to an end, and I thought to myself, what am I going to do? I've only identified as a baseball player. Are any of my skills even transferable? And I was depressed. And so I didn't really know what to do. And if you read my book or you heard some of my stories, I started off as a receptionist, and I worked my way up to become CEO of Learnit. And I realized that what I learned playing baseball, my athletic education, all those skills were transferable. And I wish I didn't go through that period for about a year or two where I was depressed. And afraid to see people because I was afraid I'd go to like a local bar and people would say, well, you're not playing baseball anymore. What are you worth? What's your value? And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if I'm a baseball player or I'm a CEO at Learnit. My identity really is somebody who I believe has high integrity. I think I'm humble and I want to be kind. Don't let a job loss or a title define your self-worth. Your real identity is who you are as a person. Number 11 is you're going to regret the chances you didn't take. Trust me on that. I'm 17 years old and I'm sitting at the dining room table with my parents and Bill Serena, this famous scout from the Atlanta Braves. And in front of me is a contract for $125,000 to play in the minor leagues for the Atlanta Braves. My parents said to me, hey, Damon, this is your decision. We'll back you up. Whatever you want to do, we'll support you. I had a full ride to Pepperdine. I looked at this situation and deep down in my heart, I wanted to take the contract and go play for the Braves. But I was scared and I was unsure of myself and I passed it over. I went on to Pepperdine, ended up at Arizona State. I had a great career, but you know what? One thing I never did, I've never had a minor league at bat. I never got a hit in the minor leagues and I've gotten over it, but something I really, really regret. If there's a situation, there's a girl or guy you want to ask out, just go for it. What's the worst thing that happen? Whether it's a job, a person, or even an idea, you got to take that leap. Don't let fear or what if stop you from trying. Go for it. From somebody who's passed up a couple opportunities that I wish I didn't, please learn from me on that. All right, we're rounding it up. We got number 12. Number 12 is about travel. If you have an opportunity, especially while you're young, live overseas, live abroad. I interviewed this woman who was great. Her name was Erin Llewellyn, and she's the CEO of Tilting Futures. And her and I were talking about it, on how they help kids go and they live in Cape Town or Malaysia, and how incredibly amazing it is for them to live in this foreign country. And what you learn from living abroad, she said, is it really gets you out of your comfort zone. You become a better problem solver because you probably don't know the language, you don't know the customs, the culture that people in. You're forced to get out of your comfort zone. It's an amazing way to get a different perspective of the world. Getting out and seeing what it's like being somewhere else is incredible. And there's so many great learning opportunities there for you. I don't have any specific studies, but for all you leaders out there, one thing that I've always heard and seen is that when you're looking to hire people, especially other people who are leaders, find people who have explored and lived in different countries before because they're more adaptable and they can look at things from a different perspective. All right, so I share with you 12 lessons of things that I learned that I know now that I wish I knew much earlier in my life. And what I want to do is I want to challenge you to think about just one of them when it comes to your life and apply it this week, whether it's saving money, whether it's having that difficult conversation you've put off, or that opportunity that's out there that you just haven't gone for yet, and do it. Just do that one thing today. And I want you to share with me one thing that you learned that you wish you knew when you were younger. I also think you should check out my book, The Learn It All Leader, Mindset, Tools, and Traits, because I've got a lot of great stories in there about life lessons, identity, imposter syndrome. And if this episode resonated with you at all, I think you should check it out. Until next time, everybody, stay curious, keep learning, and have a great day. Thank you.